All right. So just for now, for the next few minutes, if you can welcome your experience just as it is. Nothing that you need to do. Simply experience yourself as being, as presence. Notice that there is nothing that you need to do in order to experience yourself as presence. No thought is required in order to simply be, then experience yourself as being. No memory, no image is required. No story is required. Whichever way your experience is appearing, doesn't really matter. If it's a warm day, then the body is warm. If your bare feet are on the marble floor, then the sensation of cool feet. If there is a sound of traffic or not, it doesn't really matter. Your experience as presence, as awareness, as consciousness doesn't depend on any thought or image or feeling or perception. Check it out. Presence only needs presence. It doesn't need any thought or any sensation, any particular experience, to be, in order to be and to know that it is. I know I am, and I know that I am aware. Check it out. This knowledge doesn't require your body to be male, female, sleepy, resting. It doesn't require for you to be living on the top of a mountain or in the valley or in India or Kathmandu. That awareness, consciousness doesn't depend on your body being 40 or 50 years old. Even when somehow I don't know that I am, I still am. Isn't that so? Even when I don't know that the body is breathing, the body is breathing. Isn't that so? Perceptions appear within consciousness. Consciousness doesn't appear inside the body, inside the shoulder, inside the brain, inside the eyes, inside the belly. Sensations, the body appears within awareness. As if awareness takes on the form of a sensation. In the form of hearing these words. But awareness does not appear within sound or within the oak tree, within a thought. When I look at the mirror and I see an image, the image appears within eye awareness. Awareness does not appear inside the image. It is the image which appears within awareness. Double check your experience. At the moment of perceiving an image, awareness, which is there before the image, which is there as the image appears, is still there when the image disappears. Like the ocean, before the wave, there is no wave, but there is the ocean. And then when the wave appears, there is the wave, but it's still the ocean. And when the wave no longer is, it's still the ocean. The ocean sometimes takes on the form of waves, big waves, small waves, but it does not depend on the wave. The ocean does not depend on the wave. The ocean does not arise out of the wave. Similarly, consciousness, awareness, does not arise out of a thought, out of a sensation, out of a feeling, out of a brain, out of a universe. You know awareness as your direct experience. Awareness is not a concept. It is your direct experience of being aware. And it is not an experience that appears and disappears. It's not an experience that depends on whether you have given the body some rest or whether the body is tired. You know awareness as your direct experience, as evidenced by that which perceives this perception. You do not perceive this perception because of the perception. Rather, you perceive this perception because of your reality as awareness. Whether the perception is yellow, blue, or green, or no perception, your reality as awareness is unchanged, untainted, untouched, undiminished. You are not aware because suddenly you came upon Advaita. You are not aware because suddenly you've heard the teachings of the sages. You're aware because you are aware. Because you are the awareness which is aware. You are not aware because now the body is 30 years old or 40 years old, or because your brain suddenly reached a higher state of consciousness. You're aware because you are aware. You are the awareness which is aware. It's your direct experience. Look into it. You are not aware because today is Sunday and the body is healthy. Awareness is independent of any cause. It stands on its own. It is its own reality. It proves itself to itself, from itself, as itself, and to itself. Awareness is undeniable as your direct experience, unbroken, uninterrupted, formless, not a phenomenal experience such as eating ice cream or having a sip of wine. Awareness is your direct experience as awareness. It is its own proof, its own validation. It reveals to you, meaning it reveals to itself that it is transparent, formless, real, and one reality, the one and only reality. That which you refer to as my reality is the reality of consciousness. That which you refer to as the reality of the world is the reality of consciousness. That which you refer to as the reality of my mind, my thoughts, and my mind is the reality of consciousness. Not located inside the room, not located inside the body, not located beyond the limitations of location. Any questions?
Hi, Magdi. It's Esther.
Hello, Esther.
I was just reflecting that the being not knowing has an attitude or a perfume of humility. Well, would you talk about humility?
You know, there is a false humility. Which would be sort of faking that, in fact, you are being egoic. So the false humility is a cover up on the egoic self behind this falsehood. But in seeing the falsehood of the egoic belief, and in seeing the impact that living as a separate self has onto the world. And the falsehood that I am the doer, that I have the power of doership. You see that we are having glimpses that, in fact, the power of doership doesn't belong to any personal self. That it is the power of God, the power of consciousness that is animating the body, animating the mind, animating the universe, animating the entire realm of manifestation, creating it and orchestrating it. You realize in that moment that this belief that in a personal doer, a personal chooser, is false. That in fact, we don't choose our thoughts, we don't choose the weather, we don't choose. And it's sort of chosen through us in a way, chosen to us and through us. So then, this old model of this pride, this personal pride, the extent to which you perceive clearly is deflated or deflates itself, and slowly you find yourself in your natural state. The natural state is a state of peace and of being, non-dual being. So in fact, in our natural state, which is non-dual, there is no subject and object, no separate subject and separate object. That's where you come upon the true humility, which is not a humility directed towards anyone or anything. Obviously, there is a sense of gratitude and wonder that this understanding is possible. In a way, it's a simple understanding, but the impact of this understanding is humongous. So I would say there is, in terms of humility, there is a false humility, which is not humility at all, which is a form of ego, and there is a natural state. And no false modesty. There is no false modesty in our natural state. In the natural state, there is a natural recognition of the other as myself and myself as the other. And is a freedom, the joy, and love, the love of this recognition of our oneness. And there is the playfulness as well. Playfulness comes from the absolute certainty that we have that there is nothing at stake and nothing that can be harmed. So there is no defense, nothing to defend or protect. And at the same time, recognizing the other as myself and recognizing the world as myself, there is a graceful way of interacting. But there is no false modesty or false humility. And of course, in life, we navigate the situation as it presents itself with clarity, the clarity of it comes from love, respect and honor, honoring the other as they appear to you. In the Middle Eastern culture, when two people get to a door, they say, after you, the other person says, after you, Then the other person says, no, no, after you. And then the other person says, no, 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 read after you. 10 minutes later. Tradition. Some cultures, there is too much humility. So-called humility, whatever. Cultural humility. It's okay up to a point. And of course, there is a recognition of the limitations of the body-mind, you know. So, in a way, maybe there is some sort of body-mind humility which comes with the recognition of the limitations of the body-mind. But sometimes the ego trumps all of that. I don't care so much about humility, but I love the love that touches my heart more than humility. And the simplicity, the natural way of being. Whichever way you appear, whichever way things appear to you. You know, in the absence of judgment is sweet. Self-judgment or judgment of the other. It's sweet. Okay, Esther. Omer, I see your question. What does it mean when they say the seeker is the sought? It is not possible to seek something that is outside of yourself, because if it is outside from yourself, if it is separate from the reality of consciousness, if it's separate from yourself, then it is separate. Separate meaning there is no connection. Separate means there are two separate realities. So the seeker, reality one, if it is seeking something separate from itself, then it's seeking the reality two, something else than itself. There's no connection between the two. And so therefore, if you are seeking anything that is outside of yourself, you will never, never, never find it. Why? Because it is separate from yourself. If the apple is seeking the orange, the apple will never find the orange or become an orange or taste the orange, because the apple is separate from the orange. They're two separate forms. So it is only possible to find whatever you discover, it has to be already within yourself. You cannot discover or uncover or awaken to something which is separate from yourself. This is why it is said, the sought, the seeker is seeking that which he is or she is. The self that we seek is the self that we are. Now, on a different note, Tomer, I'm going to talk about reality. If we are seeking something, hopefully we are seeking something which is real, because I am pretty confident that neither you nor I, nor anybody in their sane mind, for that matter, would be seeking something which is not real. So if we are seeking something that is real, it makes sense to me. It also makes sense to me that that which is seeking, whoever it is or whatever it is that is seeking, also better be real, because if that which is seeking, whatever it is or whoever it is who is seeking what that is seeking, if that is not real, then we are talking about La La Land, we're talking about Santa Claus, or we're talking about some madness. So that which is seeking has to also be real. So if we agree that whatever it is which is seeking is real, and whatever it is that is being sought is real, then we're on board, we're in the same conversation. Next is to ask yourself, well, how many realities are there? There is one reality. If it's clear to you that there is one reality, then the reality of that which is seeking and the reality of that which is sought are the one reality, one and same reality. So this is why we say the seeker is the sought, is that which is sought. Now take it one step further to bring your attention that in your experience, there is a reality. If you investigate, you will find that this reality is a reality of consciousness, awareness. It is formless, but undeniable. Once you come to that clarity, then you can understand that that which is seeking is consciousness, and that which is being sought is consciousness. Consciousness is seeking itself. But consciousness is already itself. It doesn't need to seek itself because it's already itself. Now, this consciousness is your direct experience. It's not some concept, it's your direct experience. All you need is to come to clarity that consciousness not only is your reality and the reality of your experience, but that consciousness does not depend on the body-mind. It's not born out of a body-mind. It's not conditional upon a body-mind. This is the contemplation you need to embark on to come to clarity about the seeker is the thought, and that the seeker and the thought are one, is consciousness. It is my direct experience, and this consciousness, which I am, is not dependent on the body-mind. That is not material, and it's not dependent on the body-mind. It's not limited by the body-mind. It's not the result of any world body-mind event. Once you come to this clarity, then whatever appears to you from your old conditioning that says, I am a limited self, I am incomplete, I am mortal, whatever arises that's from the old patterns, because you have done the investigation into the reality of consciousness and its independence of the world body mind, then those thoughts and those old beliefs and those feelings will not have a ground to stand on. Okay, any questions? Okay, Umer, I see your question. If consciousness is already itself and does not need to seek itself, then why does it seek itself? Consciousness doesn't in fact seek itself. There would be too much work for consciousness. You wouldn't bother with that. you seek to be happy, you seek happiness because you imagine yourself to be a limited self. So one way of saying it is that consciousness creates the illusion. And the illusion of separation. And at some point it whispers in your ear. It tells you, hey, I'm just kidding. And then there is the journey of realizing that it's not really true. You've never been a separate self. One could say that consciousness is complete freedom, and maybe it has a crooked sense of humor, but it's not suffering. That's what you need to come to understand. Not why is consciousness doing that, but you need to come to understand that it is not suffering. So what if you now know the theory of consciousness? You read the novel about consciousness and you got it. Oh, now I understand why consciousness is doing this. And you're still suffering. Who cares why consciousness is doing that? What matters is that you are happy. So any theories about consciousness, or just theories about consciousness, the theories about consciousness will not free you. But if you're looking for a theory about consciousness, well, consciousness is complete freedom. There is no boss that is bossing consciousness around. She's the boss. So she does what she wishes, whether you like it or not. You write, in my experience, consciousness disappears in deep sleep. How do you know that? The only way for you to know that, you say it's in my experience, is for you to have been there and experienced the disappearance of consciousness. So if you were there, as you stated, because you said in my experience, and you witnessed the disappearance of consciousness, it's an oxymoron, it's not possible. Either you should stop drinking whatever it is you're drinking, or you should come to the understanding that, in fact, that's not true. The fact that you are saying in your experience consciousness disappeared proves that consciousness did not. Any questions? Okay, well, If there are no more questions, oh, Holger?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for your
Yes.
satsang.
Okay.
Gratitude, gratitude.
Also wanted to say thank you all. Lovely to be with you, Trish, Holger, John, Grace, and Jenny. Nice to see you, Jenny, Esther, Mina, Lumina,
Thank you, Magdi.
George, Zoe, Isaac, Marga, Frank, hello Desmond, Aya, hello Aya, and Umer and Tomer and Kestley. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Maggie.
Magdi.